Hey, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today, whether it's morning or afternoon or evening for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Felicia from Sweet Georgia, and today we're going to do the live office hours for the School of Sweet Georgia. So, if you didn't know, every month at the end of the month, on the last Thursday of every month, we do a live stream, and it's all to just share what people have been doing inside the School of Sweet Georgia, what we're doing inside our fiber art school and our community there. And I give a lot of updates about what's coming next and all of that kind of stuff. And so today, very, very excited. I have lots and lots of things to share with you and chat with you about. Thank you so much for being here. It's nice to see everybody in the chat here. Now, if you guys can't stay for the whole thing, usually this is anywhere from about half an hour to an hour long, but if you can't stay for the whole thing, it's totally fine. You can we actually record all these things and they will be archived in the school, so you can come and watch them at any time. And if you're watching this after the fact and then you wish that you were in the chat room chatting with all these wonderful people, you can join us inside the School of Sweet Georgia for an all access membership there. So wonderful, excited to share with you guys today. Now, I wanted to talk about kind of a little bit of a theme about what we're going to talk about today. And that is that we're basically exactly halfway through the year now. And so I'm really curious about you guys and what your goals have been. You know, we very often we set goals at the start of the year about what we'd like to make this year, what we're thinking about learning this year. And I know that we encourage you inside the school to write a learning plan, write goals, and all of these kinds of things about what you want to learn and make. And so I'm wondering, this is a perfect time to actually check in and see where you're at with those initial goals that you might have set in January. Kind of like, what's your progress been? What have you learned this year? How has it maybe changed over the past 6 months? I know lots of life comes up, you know, if you have to move or if you have to, you know, work has changed or lots of things have changed. And kind of what was unexpected? What have you been doing that you didn't really necessarily expect to do? I know for me, I started the year and I started the year thinking that I should start a separate YouTube channel just for weaving. That was one of the things that was going through my head. The other thing that was going through my head was I was feeling quite sad that I wasn't able to do a lot of knitting. And then from that January sort of conversation about that, I was inspired to start going down this machine knitting path. And that has really just given me like a second life around knitting and creating knitted stitches. And it's just been really wonderful. I will let you guys know that the circular sock machine is actually on its way here as we speak. It's supposed to arrive today. I'm very excited about that. And so we'll probably do some kind of an unboxing or something. You guys will have to let me know what you want to see that's inside that box. So that's something that was totally unexpected. When I planned January, what I was going to make this year, I planned for a ton of weaving and almost no knitting. And that has really, really changed just in a couple of months. Things have completely changed. So I'm wondering what has changed for you. And so I would like for you guys to put in the chat here, tell me in the chat, what would you like to learn to make or do in the next 6 months? What do you want to do before the end of this year? Like by the time we get to December and we have this chat and I ask you, oh, you know, what have you done? What do you want to say that you have done this past year? I'm really, really interested to learn because we're constantly trying to look at what kind of new courses to provide for you guys. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the courses that we have been filming lately in the studio because we have been filming a ton. And in June, I think we filmed four courses, four brand new courses that are going to come out slowly over time. I think it's mostly because we had to kind of like push it up to June because Greta left for vacation 2 days ago, and she's going to be gone for several weeks. And then I'm going to be going camping in August and then going to the island with my family and everything like that. So we've had to shuffle our vacations and things like that. But lots and lots of courses are coming. And I want to let you know that all of these courses that I'm going to tell you about are all things that have been requested by members. And so that's why we have put them into creation. And so I want to share those things with you, kind of like behind the scenes photos of what's been going on. So let's show you here. Okay, so this is the most recent class that we have just been filming at the studio. And see, this is Kim McKenna. Kim McKenna has taught the class with us last year called um, Nuances to Spinning Better Yarns. And so when you spend time with Kim and learn to spin with Kim, you learn all these fine details and considerations about how to make really, really beautiful wool fiber prep so that you're making like layers upon layers of decisions in order to improve your final yarn at the end of the day. I feel like I learn so much when I just stand next to Kim. It's quite amazing. And it's this idea of just, yeah, it is layers on layers of decisions as you're going through the spinning process, getting to your final yarn. What are the decisions that you're going to make? Like, are you going to smooth your fiber? Are you going to pre-soak your fiber? Are you going to pre-attenuate your fiber? Are you going to comb your fiber? Are you going to card your fiber? How are you going to do it? Your drafting technique? Are you going to add air as you draft back? Like, so many fine points to the spinning side of things. And so if you haven't seen that class yet, I highly encourage you guys to check out the spinning nuances to spinning better yarns with Kim. And the class that we have just filmed this past week, is about how to choose a fleece, how to wash that fleece, and then how to prepare that fleece for spinning. Many members, the number one most requested topic has been how to work from fleece. And it's been really interesting because there are actually a number of people, of members who raise animals, raise fiber animals inside the community. And so you'll find them and they'll talk about their sheep and their sheep. And so I think we feel like there's a ton of stuff to learn around all of this. And so you can see here, Kim is going to show us how she washes fleece. So she has this very special washing method that she's sort of come to use that has really helped keep this fleece super clean. So you can see kind of like I've shown here, there's a photo here of 3 glass jars. And so that's after each washing of the fleece, like subsequent washing of the fleece, how much dirt and oil and grease comes out of the water and comes out of that fleece. And so very excited to share that technique with you. And then she also shows sort of a modified technique of using that bar of soap and then washing lock by lock for fibers that are maybe finer, that need a little bit more careful handling, things like Polworth and stuff like that. So there's that aspect of it. And then Kim actually brings 3 full fleeces, like whole fleeces, and she kind of unrolls them on the table and then shows us, which parts have good wool, which ones are maybe a little bit more rough, which ones are meant for, maybe could be used for socks or harder wearing parts. So tons of information. Kim has done fleece judging as well. So she judges fleeces, so she knows exactly what to look for. And so she kind of goes through a checklist of all the things that you should be looking for too. If you were to go to a fleece auction, how do you judge? What's a good fleece? What should I buy? All of that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited about this course. You should see Greta. She's super excited about this course too. Very exciting. The next one I want to share with you behind the scenes is some dyeing content that we are filming with Charlotte. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our acid dyeing study group that's coming up this summer. But as we were preparing for the acid dyeing study group, we started to film a bunch of videos trying to teach some of the topics that people have had a lot of questions about inside the school. And then as we started to film, we were adding on filming days, and all of a sudden it was like 4 days of filming. And we're like, but this is a study group. The study group is supposed to help everybody go through the existing videos, which already have a lot of information in them. And so all of these things that we have been filming with Charlotte, they are going to become new dyeing workshops. And so they're going to come up and there are specific topics. So things like, how do you dye spinning fiber? Specifically, just talking about spinning fiber. I know that we do show how to dye fiber in the dyeing complex color class, showing you how to handle fiber and things like that. But Charlotte goes into significantly more detail because she wants to show larger quantities and things like that. We also talk about dyeing larger quantities. So rather than dyeing one skein at a time or two skeins at a time, it would be about like dyeing. How do you dye 8 skeins at a time? How do you dye like large volumes in order to make a sweater? That kind of thing. And then part of that is that if you're going to dye larger quantities and you're dyeing it in, say, like a big giant dye pot, how do you hold that big giant dye pot that could weigh, say, like 100 pounds? It starts to become very labor intensive, but also potentially dangerous for your body in order to handle that much weight. And so, since Charlotte has been dyeing for years and years now, she's going to talk a little bit about how she manages her own body relative to the pots, relative to the stove, relative to the table, in order so that she doesn't damage any part of her body. It's just ergonomics, really, of dyeing. So that is all coming up. Very, very excited about all of that content. The next one I wanted to share with you, this is also something that many members have been asking for. And so the idea is that this is kind of like an intermediate step. But you can see here, this is Amanda Wood. Amanda Wood is a weaver who has been teaching many of our rigid heddle classes for the School of SweetGeorgia. She does a ton of weaving and also printmaking and also sculptures outside in her art practice. But for the school, she has been focused on teaching rigid heddle weaving. Now, the thing that people have been asking us for has been double weave on 4 shafts, double weave on rigid heddle loom. And so originally we were going to jump in and do a double weave class on a rigid heddle loom. And then as she was developing the content, she was like, well, you know, if we're going to do this, people really should learn how to use a pickup stick before they get into all of the things with multiple reeds and additional pickup sticks and all of these kinds of things. So in order to get everybody started with the idea or the practice of using a pickup stick with a rigid heddle loom, she developed this class. And so this is about weaving texture, weaving floats, and it looks like lace on a rigid heddle loom. So you can see this beautiful, beautiful shawl that she has woven here, entirely using a rigid heddle loom. That yarn is just Duet. It's the linen and cotton blend. Absolutely gorgeous. And so like woven in this way with this really open set and the open beat, you can see these windows, these holes just opening up, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And so she shows you how to use pickup sticks on the rigid heddle loom. I had never done it before, and I was a little bit nervous about well, like pickup sticks falling out and all of these kinds of things. But the way that she does it, and you can watch Amanda weave with the pickup sticks, and it just becomes really elegant and very smooth. Pickup sticks are not falling out on the floor all the time. Like it's just, it's quite smooth. It's smoother than I had anticipated. And so I'm really, really excited for you guys to check out this class that's going to be coming, all about the pickup sticks with a rigid heddle. And we'll talk about it in a minute as well, but Amanda is going to help lead the rigid heddle weaving study group that we're going to do this August as well. Fantastic. And so now, once this class has been done, later on this fall, we are going to film the double weave on rigid heddle with Amanda, and that will come out next year as well. And so this is the class that I have just finished filming, and this is also double weave. This is double weave on 4 shafts. So this is the multi-shaft loom. That one happens to be the shacked baby wolf loom. And so this is the blanket that is just midway through weaving. You can see 2 layers, hopefully. Maybe you can see my mouse here. This is the top layer, and then this is the bottom layer here. My opening is on the right-hand side, and then you can see I'm using fishing line on the folded edge. And I'll talk about all of that kind of stuff inside the class. But this was super fun to put together. I learned so much about double weave and really excited to share it all with you. There's a lot of stuff around weaving drafts and understanding drafts, understanding just how to document how all of this works together. And so one of the things that we are going to be having is, later on I'll tell you about this too, but Laura Fry is going to come and do a lecture specifically about weaving drafts, drafting, all of this kind of stuff, because it's really important for us to learn how to draw a weaving draft and a drawdown, because that's how we communicate about these weave structures. I can't really explain to you how to thread a loom just with words. It's better if I show you in a picture that you can follow, like a diagram, like a draft. And so I really encourage you to like look at books and resources about weave structures and drafts and things like that. It all really helps in the mix. And this is one of the things that I know that when I first started weaving, I was kind of confronted with weaving drafts, and I was like, oh, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I'm going to weave plain weave. And I did. I wove plain weave for like 10 years. And now really getting into looking at weave drafts, understanding how they work, and it opening up an entire world of possibilities of things that you can weave. So very, very excited about that. Yes, Linda, I am going to show the fishing line, and I'm going to show like with and without. I think it's cool. It's been a very cool experiment to prove the effect of the fishing line. So I'm excited about that. Next, I want to share with you guys that Holly's class, the Fundamentals to Finishing Knits class, Module 3, has just been released. So the entire course is now available. So if you have been interested in looking at learning techniques for finishing your knitted projects in a very, very professional way, I highly encourage you to watch this class. So in Module 3, Holly goes through things like bind-offs, blocking, seaming, how to pick up stitches for neck bands and things like that, how to pick up at the right rate in order to get what you need, and then multiple ways of weaving in ends. So all of this stuff is really, really important knowledge. Now, one of the things I do want to mention is that this course is the longest course we have ever made. So Holly's class is more than 10 hours long. And I would love for you to sit and watch 10 hours of her course. I think that would be great. I mean, don't sit there and do it all at once, or I guess you could. But if you broke it up into a couple of days, it's totally doable. But you can also approach this class in a way like it's an encyclopedia. So if you need to look up the one technique on how to pick up stitches for a neckband, you can jump to that one section and then watch the 10 minutes of that. And then you learn the technique and then you can move on. So I encourage you to come to this class as you need to, whenever you need to, so that you can pick up the tips sort of in a just-in-time way. Like, I need to know this, I'm going to figure it out now. I need to know this, I can look it up now. It's a very epic class because it covers everything. It's very comprehensive. So I feel like it's a bit like an encyclopedia. If you need to look up the technique, you can get it. And then you can also check out the workbooks that have been developed for Holly's class, because they have tons of information in all of these workbooks. So I encourage you to check that all out. So that is what we have been releasing lately. Now, I want to share with you guys what is going on next. We finished the tapestry study group maybe about a week or so ago. And we had our finale, and that is posted. So if you want to go back and watch that and review that, you're welcome to check that out. Of course, the discussion forum for the tapestry study group will continue to be there. I know that I attended the finale, and a lot of the members who are weaving tapestry were like, oh, I want to keep weaving. I don't want to stop. Like, the 4 weeks is not long enough to go through a lot of the stuff that they wanted to experiment with and test and weave. And so you can definitely continue weaving tapestry and continue showing your samples and your work for the coming months, years, everything. So all of that will continue to be available. But the next study group that we're going to be doing is the acid dyeing study group. And that's actually going to start next week. Next week. And so right now we have like week 0, we call it week 0, but it's basically, you can hop onto the school and check out the page with the information about how to get started. And so that really is about acquiring all of the tools that you need. Like, you need a respirator for a dust mask. You might need bottles for mixing dye stock solutions. You might need actual dye powders, all of that kind of stuff. Now is the time to collect all of the materials that you need in order to start the study group. So we made these a while ago, but these are available. Maybe I'll just show you for a second. These are available in case you need acid dyes to start with. So in here, I wonder if I can open the box. Yeah, there's just a number of different dye colors in here. So we have the two kinds of blue, one warmer blue, one cooler blue, one cooler yellow, one warmer red, one cooler red, and then a black. So all of those colors together will give you so many combinations for what you need in order to try different colors and try dyeing. So the idea behind the dyeing study group is that we have these courses that we developed called the Dyeing Intentional Color class and the Dyeing Complex Color class. And both of those classes are around acid dyeing. And they start from absolutely like from the very beginning. Like, this is how we're going to measure dye powder, and this is how we make a dye stock solution, and this is how we calculate depth of shade, and this is how we do immersion dyeing in a pot, and then all of that kind of stuff. It kind of goes on to, you know, how do we do hand painting, and how do we do low immersion dyeing, all different kinds of techniques. And so the goal of the study group is to really help you take action. It's true, like, you can watch these videos and you can sit on the knowledge for a long time. But I think that when we do the study groups, it gets everybody together and we do it at the same time. And it can really help motivate you and get you started. So that's what this dyeing study group is all about. So first week, well, week 0 is getting your stuff ready. Week 1 is going to be about how to mix the dye powders safely and how to set up your workspace. And then week 2 will be immersion dyeing. And then we're going to do 2 meetups on Zoom. So both Charlotte and myself will be there with you on Zoom. These are going to be Friday, July 15th and Friday, July 29th from 11 to 12 Pacific Standard Time. We're going to meet up on Zoom, and you can just ask us whatever questions you have about acid dyeing. I know lots of people have questions about temperature, about, you know, when do we add acid, how much acid, like lots and lots and lots of questions. So anything you want to bring and ask, come to those Zoom meetups and we will help answer those questions for you. So very excited about that. You can see the weekly guidance is going to be posted here. You can check that out. And then our study group discussion area is going to be here. So you can check both of those things out. And then I know you guys are chatting about the rigid heddle study group. So in here, this is for the rigid heddle study group. So this is what's going to happen in August. So in August, a couple weeks of, you know, again, getting ready, getting your rigid heddle loom, getting the yarns, all of that kind of stuff. And then week 1, you're going to weave this color and weave gamp, okay? And then also look at wet finishing. And we'll look at Laura Fry's wet finishing class. And then you can weave your actual project. And again, there's going to be Zoom meetups here with Amanda Wood, and we'll talk about finishing up the projects and things like that. So Joan is asking, can you say more about how a study group works? I have a lot of traveling this month, so I'm wondering if I missed a section, will I be able to go back and watch anything I missed? Absolutely. So the study group is basically like weekly guidance where we help direct you to watch different videos from maybe different courses, like a lesson here and a lesson there, to help you get the information that you need in order to progress along the path towards making either a sampler or a project or whatever. Everything you can do at your own pace. Everything is archived, so you can go back and you can rewatch it multiple times if you need to. So all of that. There's no deadline for any of these things. There's no having to keep up. Everybody can work at your own pace. The idea is that we want to start at the same time because there's a bit of momentum and there's energy getting everybody started and getting everybody going. So that kind of thing is very, very fun and exciting. So those are the 2 study groups that we're running this summer. And then here. So if you are not feeling like doing either dyeing or rigid heddle weaving, the other thing that we're going to be doing this year, completely unofficially, this was something that Vicky had suggested because I don't know, Vicky said that she had never done Tour de Fleece before, but this is kind of like Tour de Fleece is something that happens every year during the Tour de France. And so the idea being that you would spin every day that the Tour de France is on. And so people will watch the cycling on TV and then spin at the same time. And then there's a couple of days of rest and a couple of challenge days. So this is completely unofficial. We don't have any prizes. We don't have a group. We don't have anything for this except for this chat thread where you can pop in and share your experiences about what you're making, what you're spinning, what you're discovering, what you're finding, all of that kind of stuff. So you can see here, this is a chatter thread for those who want to talk about the experience of Tour de Fleece. So if anyone wants to spin along with me and do their own thing, please join Vicky in some great fiber conversations. Yes, so that is Vicky. Let's see here. So you spin every day from July 1st, that's starting tomorrow, until the 24th. And then there's going to be 2 rest days where you don't have to spin, and then 2 challenge days, July 10th and the 21st. And so you can choose your own challenge. So maybe your challenge is trying supported spindle for the first time, or maybe it's trying a new plying technique for the first time, or maybe it's spinning extra fine, whatever it is. Maybe it's trying a different sheep breed altogether. So here you can see this is some of the hand spun that Kim McKenna spun, and she showed us in her class. She was just here a couple days ago filming that fleece washing class. And so she brought some of her hand spun skeins, seriously beautiful skeins. And I feel like every time I see Kim's yarns, they really inspire me to go back to my wheel to see how I can do what I'm doing better. And we talked about this before. You can't get better unless you put in the time and the energy to sit there at your wheel or your e-spinner or your spindle and to just do it. And so spinning every day from the 1st to the 24th, by the 24th, if you can imagine, your skills will have improved. You will have developed more consistency and more fluidity in whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're interested in spinning this July, I encourage you guys to just pop into the chat and then share a little bit about what you're doing there. Yeah, like Elena was saying, use it as a way of setting up a habit that I've kept going, spinning at least 5 or 10 minutes every day. Fantastic. I am not competitive about my spinning. I don't want to be competitive about my fiber arts. I really want to just enjoy what I'm doing, and yeah, enjoy the process. And then Patricia's asking, what does everyone do with their hand spun? I think right now, looking at making a lot of hand spun either for making socks or for weaving. Those are the things that I'm looking at. Now, this is the lecture that's coming up very, very shortly as well. July 6th. July 6th. You can register for this Zoom meeting that we are going to be having with Laura Fry. You do need to register for this one, just so that way we know how many people are coming and all this kind of stuff. But this lecture is going to be with Laura Fry, and she's going to talk about the tools that we use for weaving. This is part of a series of weaving lectures that Laura is delivering for us. We've already done one where she talked about yarn from beginning to end and all different fiber blends, different types of fiber, how yarns are spun in order so that they can be used for weaving. In this one, we're going to talk about the equipment. So talk about looms, what's the difference between a jack loom and a counterbalance loom and a countermarch loom and a dobby loom, computerized loom. And then she talks about other tools that for many of us, we may not have ever seen or seen before. So like fly shuttles, automatic cloth advance systems, and temples, anything that could help make your weaving much more efficient or improve the quality of your cloth. So she's going to talk about all of those kinds of tools. If the time doesn't work out for you, it's totally no problem, because again, this will be recorded and we'll put it up inside the school for everybody to see at a later date. So now I just want to quickly look at the calendar of events. This is our calendar that is in the community area of the school. You can check that out. I'm not sure if it's completely full, if everything is on there, but always go there and check out the calendar. We've been putting all of the Zoom links for the meetups inside the calendar event. So if you click on any of these things, like the spinning and weaving on Saturday, it will give you the Zoom link, and you just click on that Zoom link and it'll take you into that meeting. Here we have the toolbox lecture. Acid dyeing is going to be for these weeks here for that study group. And then we have these acid dyeing meetups on the 15th and the 29th. I do my live office hours on the 28th of July. And we also do a new member welcome meeting. So Vicky and I, we get up and we talk about the inside of the school. We help people find their way around, all that kind of stuff. So if you've just joined the school, you are more than welcome to come to that meeting. Or actually, even if you've been here for a while and you just have questions about the interface or how we've organized information, you can come and talk to me and Vicky during that time as well. So yeah, one of the other things that I want to encourage you to think about with this calendar is that you can actually subscribe to the calendar and it will automatically go into your Google Calendar or whichever calendar. There's like a .ics file which you can like import into your calendar software, so that way you can always be informed about what is going on inside the school. Okay, so now I want to share with you guys some of the things that have been popping up inside the community forums, things that people are sharing. I feel like a lot of these things are very much related to making goals, learning plans, progression, working towards something very, very with a lot of perseverance. I think it's quite amazing, some of the things that have been showing up inside the school. So I want to show these to you. Let's start with Amanda's epic shawl. So this shawl that you can see Amanda wearing here, full shawl, is something that she designed and knit during the lace knitting study group that happened earlier this year. It started around March. And so you can see here, it's quite amazing. So like in March 2022, week 1, she said, this is going to sound weird, but I'm not sure what I want to get out of the study group. So she came into a study group not entirely knowing how sort of the direction of what she wanted to do, because she's like, I like knitting lace, but I'm not sure what I want to do with this. And then as the weeks progressed and she got some yarn and she started doing a lot of sampling and a lot of swatching and trying different things, you can read her whole progression from the very beginning. Here she initially started off with doing this crochet edging, and the loops were on the larger side of things, and then she did subsequent swatches where the loops were smaller. She was taking this lace pattern, which is actually like for a long vertical, horizontal, rectangular stole kind of style, and then converting it to work in a triangle format. So making a top-down triangle with this pattern that was meant to be used horizontally or vertically. You know what I mean. So watching all of this progression from March, April, May, June, finally, just this past week, she posted the epilogue. She says the lace schlanket. The shawl is bigger than originally calculated, so shawl plus blanket equals schlanket. She says, overall, I'm very happy with my shawl, and working through the design process was a wonderful experience. And thank you to Tabitha for the reason to dive in. Yeah, so here's Amanda. She's in the chat here. The original inspiration was a curtain, but it's beautiful. Like the lace work is beautiful. I've never actually seen this particular yarn before. This is, how do you pronounce it? Issachar, alpaca, and in this beautiful color. It looks kind of like a gray-green kind of color, if I'm not mistaken. It's called Forest. Absolutely gorgeous. And so again, yeah, this idea was that the lace study group was, if you didn't know how to knit lace, you could spend the first part of the lace study group learning how to actually knit lace. So you knit a bunch of swatches and then you knit a project. And then moving forward from there, if you wanted to design your own lace shawl, you could go forward with that. And so Tabitha, oh, she's here too. Tabitha was leading this entire group in how to actually create your own knitwear design, starting with triangular shawls. So this is absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And really congratulations, Amanda, on just moving through the process. And I think it's interesting because the beginning was unknown. And it's kind of like stepping into something where you're like, I don't really know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to try, and I'm just going to start taking steps forward and see where this leads. And I think that that part of it is really important because we can't always foresee what the end product is going to be, especially if we're learning. We don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be. And so stepping forward into an unknown is it's very special. It's very important. So I'm really, really just in awe. I like seeing these things happen. So that's fantastic. So congratulations on this beautiful, beautiful shawl, Amanda. I wanted to share with you guys this one as well. So this is Kate R. Kate put a learning plan into the school forums. So we do have a section on learning plans where you basically jot down what are your goals, what are you thinking about making. And so if you go, and there's a link there, you can go see Kate's learning plan. She has a big long list of all the things she wants to do in multiple areas. So she wants to do weaving and spinning and knitting and all these kinds of different things. And so this is one of the first things that she has checked off of her list. So she says, I have a lot of projects planned. I like to have big goals to work towards. I don't get upset if I don't make them all. And I think that that is such a great mindset to have around all of this. Just to think big, to have lots and lots of plans and ideas. And as time progresses, certain things will step forward and become more interesting or more prominent or just more interesting. But it's nice to have everything on the page so that you know what to consider. And so now, a month later, towels for her Shetland trip gifts in warm colors are all finished. So she's finished the first set of towels. I'm amazed that when I set a goal to get them done, I managed to weave them all in a week. And I'm planning the next steps. So congratulations on that. They look lovely. They look beautiful. The checks are very square. I don't know if you guys can see, like this part of it is very nice and square. They turned out great. Beautiful. This is another beautiful hand woven project I wanted to share with you guys. And so this is by Catherine S. You guys will see she has woven many, many, many beautiful and very colorful things inside the school. If you look at Catherine's weaving, really gorgeous stuff going on. And so this one is kind of like an interesting mashup of many different things. One of them is that there's a pattern that we made a while back called Radiant Towels. And so the idea was taking some colors and fading them in and out. So like, you know, warping, holding together multiple colors and creating a warp and then dropping one color and adding a new color. And so that way you can kind of progress through a number of different warp colors. And then she applied a twill pattern to them. So the Radiant Towels originally were woven in plain weave, but these ones are in an 8-shaft twill. So not just a 4-shaft twill, but an 8-shaft twill. And they look fantastic. I love this idea, you know, like when you take the same warp and then you just use a different weft color, it transforms everything. Everything looks beautiful. That's exactly what Pearl said. Yes, absolutely beautiful. So Patricia's asking what types of threads were used. In this case, she was using 8-2 cotton. And now she is wondering about, can I weave something similar? She wants to do something like this with 16-2 cotton, so finer cotton. 16-2 is basically half the diameter of 8-2 cotton. And so there's a whole conversation on this URL here. So I put the link here, Radiant Towels Meet Twill, because Catherine was asking about weaving with 16-2 cotton, and it just so happens that Laura Fry has a big, big stash of 16-2 cotton that she has been trying to weave down by weaving towels and towels and towels and towels. And so she has had a ton of experience weaving 16-2 cotton. And so if you are interested in doing something similar, then I highly recommend you go follow that thread and see what they are talking about there. I also just ordered some 16-2 cotton because I was inspired by these towels, and looking forward to seeing what happens with all of this. So that's super wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your photos with us, Catherine. It's always so, just so satisfying to see all these rainbow colors together. It's beautiful. Now this one is quite an epic post. These two photos do not do this entire thread justice. Okay, so these are all hand spun samples that have been created by Nina in the forums. She started back in November 2021, and when we were doing the spinning study group. And so she was talking about like looking at, because we had just released that course that was by Kim McKenna about nuances to spinning better yarns. And part of that course had a topic about what happens when you take top, like commercial fiber, commercial top, and what happens if you pre-soak that before spinning it. So you would pre-soak it and then let it dry, and it should reactivate the crimp that was originally in that fiber. And then when you go to spin it, it will produce a slightly different effect. Like maybe it's more lofty, maybe it's more poofy, maybe it's more squishy and elastic. Lots of different things might happen after you pre-soak that fiber. And so Nina was asking, she's like, I don't know why there's such a huge difference in the texture between spun first and dyed first. And so I hope I'll learn something from this exercise. So she took 100 grams of each fiber, divided them into 3 parts. The first part, she just spun fresh from the top. The second one, she would pre-soak it and then dry it out and then spin with that. And then the third one is then she would take number 1 and 2, the skeins 1 and 2, and then together with the fiber, like the unspun fiber, so 2 skeins and fiber, and then dye those together, and then take number 3, the fiber, and then spin that into a yarn, and compare these 3 skeins and see how they did. And so she started doing a lot of these tests with a number of different kinds of fibers. So I think that she was using some merino, some BFL, she's using some Cordale, all of this kind of stuff. And she has been coming along month after month after month, showing so much progress. So this was the original premise. And from there, you know, she discovered some things about BFL and merino. She's made some conclusions about those in January. And then in March, I think under maybe Vicky's suggestion, she decided to do a lot of the exercises in Katrina's worksheets. So Katrina, she has a course called Spinning Up a Level, and it is really about working through a number of different kinds of drafting methods. So if you're starting with a worsted prep and then you spin short forward, spin short backward, spin long draw, spin from the fold, all of that kind of stuff. And then with a woolen prep, do the same sort of things. And so these samples are, this pink and blue side here, these are all woolen samples. And then these samples here, this blue, chili kind of blue color, this side is all worsted samples. And so I don't know how many samples she's created. Maybe Nina can count and let us know. But there's like dozens and dozens and dozens of samples where she's discovering more and more and more about her own spinning around and learning more about the fibers themselves, learning about what happens when you dye the fiber first or you spin it white and then you dye it, what happens to the texture of the yarn. And really, the idea is like, what does she like best? She's just working through all of these different iterations to figure out, what do I like best? Where do I want to spend my time? What technique, what combination of dyeing, technique, fiber, everything, number of plies even, what combination do I want in order to then go and make a sweater? So this is just a phenomenal exercise of working through all of the different combinations or all of the different tests. Yeah, it's quite exhaustive, but I encourage you guys to go check out her notes, Nina's study notes, and she's been talking about all of these different samples for months now, and very, very inspiring to see. So congratulations on all of the spinning, Nina, and I hope to see what you make from all of this. Oh, she says here, one of her last comments is, it's really good to know, to finally know this and more and be able to reproduce it. That's the main achievement for me, and I'm really happy with this. I feel like I'm a better spinner now. No more, let's draft as thin as I can, and that's all. So I think that that's really, really nice to hear. Is now she has a lot of control over her spinning and, you know, making decisions about what she's spinning and how she's spinning and all this kind of stuff. So it's fantastic. So really epic spinning journey. Yes. Yeah, just one sample. Now, I want to quickly show you guys what I have been working on because I have no weaving photos to show. I took my loom at home and I took it apart completely. So you can see my loom being broken down into pieces and pieces and pieces. And this is what I was doing on the weekend. I took all of the screws out and I popped them into this egg carton so that I could hold them up. And then I sprayed them all with this rust paint to make them all look shiny and new. There's a whole conversation down here at this link where we're talking about loom restoration and what we're doing with it and how we're cleaning up these looms and everything like that. I have been having so much fun with this. It's taken, I guess it takes as long as it takes. It's very much a labor of love. I do enjoy doing it. I do enjoy doing it. It's beautiful. It's coming together really, really well. But this is all of the stuff in pieces before sanding, and now I am doing the actual sanding and finishing of it. And so that's just one part of it. That's just the screws. The screws made me unbelievably happy. And then this is the sanding part of it. So this is two of the front beams. This one has been sanded. This one has been, well, has not been sanded yet. And I was having a little bit of a crisis because I thought I'd sanded away all of the color. And I thought, oh no, it's going to look blonde. And that's not what I had meant. But after finishing some of the pieces, they do go back to being this golden amber color, and it's really lovely. It's just like glowing, it's radiating, it's beautiful. It turned out really, really well. The pieces that I have refinished have been turning out great. One thing I did notice is that I have those two main beams on the side of the loom. One of them does not have like a rubber grip on the bottom, and one of them does. And so a couple of months back, I had talked about how the beater wasn't beating straight, how I was getting a bit of an angle, and sometimes it was a quarter of an inch, sometimes it was half an inch higher on one side of my selvage than the other side. And so people were saying, well, maybe your loom is not square. And so now, having taken everything apart, realized that one of the bottom pieces is missing. So I wonder if that is causing the loom to be off center or whatever, or off balance, and causing the problem. The other thing that I did notice is that this is the front beam and this is the back beam, or either, not the back beam, the the part that the cloth goes around. I can't remember the exact word right now, but one of them is straight and the other one is curved. And I think that part of the reason that this happens is that the underside of some of these wood pieces doesn't get stained. I think that I think the newer looms do, but some of these older looms, oh, thanks, Vicky. Yes, the breast beam. Yeah, so some of these older looms, you might notice, I don't know, Vicky, you can notice on your fanny, but the underside of that breast beam was not finished with any varnish any varnish. And so I wonder if that fact that the top is varnished but the bottom is not varnished, that might cause the wood to warp and twist and bend a little bit. And so I have sanded down the whole thing and I finished both sides so that the whole thing is finished. But I wonder if that's what did it. But in any case, I think that if I use the curved one on the back of the loom, that should not have an effect on things being wonky. But this is the last two pieces that I have to sand. And these are the parts that make me super nervous because I have to somehow sand around this logo that has been applied. It's almost like a temporary tattoo that's been applied to the wood and it's cracking. I'm very nervous about like somehow dissolving it and then having it wipe away. So this is a bit of an issue. And then I was very concerned about this because this is obviously very important. I want to have this marking on the loom. But I did start to sand this part down, this part that says have the top of harnesses at this level. I did start to sand this off. And it looks like this stamp that is happening, it's underneath the varnish. So as I sand off the varnish, the words are not going anywhere. So that's great. Yeah, that's been good. The words are still there, but I'm very concerned about the logo. I don't want to lose the logo. Anyways, yes, thank you so much. Okay. So we are at the end. And so we have a giveaway. We have a we have a giveaway. we have these lovely bags to give away. So I'm going to show you. We actually have a choice of how very many bags. So Gist sent us a bunch of tote bags that we can give away to you guys. So there's 3 different kinds. One of them is, I think that looks like a baby wolf, doesn't it? Well, it's a multi-shaft loom, kind of like a Leclerc compact, that sort of loom. We have one that is a tapestry loom. And we have one that is a rigid heddle loom. So we have these 3 tote bags that we can give away. And I'm just going to put this back so you can see where the link is. If you go to this link and then you fill in the little questions there, there's only 2 questions, then we will do a draw and we'll let you know who wins the bags and we'll send them out to you. We're really excited. And then maybe, these are even big enough that you could, if you had a small little rigid heddle loom, you could pop that into the bag and take it with you to the beach. Like, I think Robin was asking in the forums, what are you going to make on summer vacation? Say if you were going to a cabin somewhere, what project would you take? Well, you could take a bag like this with a project inside. So there's all of that going on. So go to that link and you will be able to enter in the draw to win the tote bag. You could embroider on them too. Absolutely. You could color them in. You could dye them. You could over dye them. Lots of things that you could do with this. It's fantastic. And so my last picture is this. This is just our contact information. If you need to find us, we are Sweet Georgia on Instagram, School of Sweet Georgia on Instagram. You can see our websites there. Our email address is there as well. And again, our link to the giveaway is there. This is a photo inside our dye studio. I'm very excited about the dyeing study group that's going to be happening. And I really hope to see you guys in there. I know that dyeing is one of the most scary things. It can be very intimidating. And so we really hope to get everybody started with the dyeing process this summer because it kind of is the beginning of everything, right? Like if you have your fiber, have some raw fleece, raw fiber, wash that up, dye it, and then you can spin it, and then you can weave with it or knit with it or whatever. But dyeing is a huge part of the process in fiber arts. And so when you develop the ability to have control over how those colors appear on your yarn or on your fiber, I feel like it gives you much more control over your results, over your entire process. So I hope that that will work for you. If you are manually entering, yes, I hope that you guys are able to get to that link. Let me see. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. This was wonderful. Yes, Brenda, it does need the HTTPS. Thank you. Yes, wonderful. Thank you guys so much for being here today. I'm really glad to do these every month, and I look forward to seeing you guys inside the community forums or next month for this. All right, I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye for now.